But Jackie, you cannot have a general manager in any sport, in any business that's as emotional as Jerry Jones, right? I mean, it's you want a general manager that's stoic and pragmatic, and makes good decisions for the ball club, and this is not Jerry Jones. A lot of people will argue that it's all about the clicks and all about the hype, and maybe it is. But at the end of the day, this is a dysfunctional organization. I mean, there's really no other way to frame it. Whether he's doing it on purpose or not, he has a dysfunctional organization. Now, here, look at this headline right here coming in on Monday. Des Bryant, Rock Nation, fire back at Jerry Jones. So now there's this, and I know it's the top of the headlines, and maybe some of you will argue that's what Jerry Jones wants. Same time, what's the method? Like, some people say there's a method to the madness. Method to what? It's certainly not helping his first-year head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, trying to make his way as a first-time head coach. But let's hear Jerry Jones over the weekend. Jerry Jones in response to Micah Parsons, and we know what the trade request was. You've probably seen it by now. He released on Friday a statement that said, in March, I met with Mr. Jones talking about leadership. Somehow the conversation turned into him talking contract with me, and we remember this. This was at the Combine. And he said, yes, I engaged in back and forth in regards to what I wanted from my contract, Micah wrote, but at no point did I believe this was supposed to be a formal negotiation. I informed him afterwards my agent would reach out thinking this thing would get done. But when my agent reached out and spoke to the senior director of salary cap and player contacts, he was told the deal was pretty much already done. So David Mulugheta reaches out to Adam Prasvika, said the deal's pretty much done. The agent, of course, says, well, that's not the case. I hadn't even talked to Stephen Jones or Jerry Jones, so the deal can't be done. And Micah wrote, then he said the team decided to go silent. Parsons said it was at that point that his agent made the decision to let the Cowboys reach out when they were ready to do a deal from that point on. And according to Parsons, up to Friday when he issued the trade request, the team had not had a single conversation with his agent about a contract. Parsons went, then he went, recent stars, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, we've seen this, did not go. He requested a trade. He said, unfortunately, I no longer want to be here. Up to today, the team has not had a single conversation with my agent about a contract. I stayed quiet, but again, after repeated shots at myself and all the narratives, I have made a tough decision. I no longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. My trade request has been submitted to Stephen Jones personally. So there you go. And we'll get into a story written at Yahoo Sports over the weekend that I think when people say it's all about clicks and all about, there's a method here with Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones. I don't know what it is. I don't know what their end goal is, but let's hear Jerry Jones first and foremost from camp on Saturday. This is the first time we hear from Jerry Jones after the request was made.
Did
the request take you by surprise?
Again, no, that's negotiation. I've heard that so many times in my 30 years in the NFL about from not just players but agents, and of course we all understand contracts. We're under contract. That's what we're doing. We're looking at adjusting the contract, but we're under contract. And
all right, so there's Jerry Jones saying a lot of nothing, kind of stammering through it. And I won't listen to Jerry Jones say he's under contract, right? That's nonsense. I do not legitimize that comment.
It's an unreliable narrator.
Well, Parsons is the only Pro Bowl player from the 2021 draft that has not gotten his second deal.
That's true.
Redoing the contract that you're under, because yes, he's under contract through this season. But again, if you outperform the rookie deal, the way business is done in the National Football League, you get paid. Mm-hmm. All the best players from that draft have gotten a new contract, some of them a year and a half ago. And Micah Parsons said he tried to start talking a new deal a year and a half ago. But again, here's the thing. Don't listen to he's under contract. How many contracts have Jerry Jones? They just did Jake Ferguson's deal this past week. He's under contract.
It's just not how it's done.
Right. Well, and for him to even say it is ridiculous. So don't even legitimize that. But here's the deal. So Charles Robinson at Yahoo wrote a story over the weekend, which really I think this is the conversation for me. But it provides yet another illustration of what the blank are the Cowboys doing. Why do they do things in the way they operate? So Robinson tells of a time in the past, not with Micah Parsons, the team was trying to negotiate a contract with one of their star players. And the agent in the middle of the process reached a boiling point, according to Robinson, where talks were at a standstill. And according to the agent, Jerry Jones and team president Stephen Jones were renewing efforts to engage the player in a private meeting. So this is the way the Joneses operate. They don't want to talk to the agent. They want to talk to the player. by himself, right? And the agent apparently had enough, according to the Yahoo report. So he picked up the phone, delivered a message to the Joneses, stop trying to talk to my player without me. Okay? Apparently, inside the agent community, this has been a familiar story for way too long. For years, players' representatives have complained behind the scenes, representatives alleging that Jerry Jones has a history of attempting to manipulate players into discounted deals, first by isolating them in face-to-face meetings without the agent present, right? Sometimes under the guise of discussing something other than contract talks. What did Micah Parsons just say in his statement? You know, I was meeting and talking to Jerry Jones about leadership, right? We're talking about leadership, and the next thing you know, we end up starting talking about a contract, which falls in line with the Robinson story. So isolate them, face-to-face meeting, talk about something else, then all of a sudden, hey, let's talk about a contract. And, as Micah Parsons said in the statement, yeah, we talked about it. We talked parameters. So in Jerry Jones's mind, the deal was done. And Micah said, well, no, call my agent and finalize this thing. And that's never happened. So, again, this is nothing new because Jerry in those meetings also tends to pour honey into their ear about being a lifelong Cowboy and, we'll take care of you and the Cowboy Nation and all this stuff. And, we saw it with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott repeatedly and publicly put his agent, Todd France, out front and center. Like, Dak understood that this has happened before. Who's Dak's best buddy? Zeke Elliott, right? Remember when Zeke Elliott's agent and their group, to avoid those private meetings, sent him to Cabo San Lucas? Remember when he was in the holdout and sent him off to Mexico to train? Because, according to Charles Robinson and the agent community, that was to just get away from it. So you couldn't get cornered into one of these Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones players meetings.
Yeah.
Where that's what the agent's for.
Exactly.
And so Dak Prescott understood that. He watched Dak go through it. He had to go to Mexico for a month, finally got his new deal, which Jerry Jones ended up overspending for a running back, but the deal got done. And when I go talk about emotional general managers, you know what else happened during that holdout where Zeke was in Mexico? They signed Jalen Smith to a big contract because the emotional Jerry Jones loved Jalen Smith. Remember the linebacker out of Notre Dame who had the knee injury in the bowl game? Way overpaid Jalen Smith in the same time that Zeke was holding out. Why did he do that? Because he was a team leader and he showed up and he was there. And so Jerry Jones gave him a big contract that turned out to be a bad contract. And this is why he shouldn't be the general manager. But at the same time, what's the method here, Jack? I mean, it's like you're trying to talk to somebody without their lawyer present. Like I don't. And if the player says specifically, call David, call my agent. Remember way back at the Combine, Jerry Jones said, I don't know who his agent is. Of course he knows. David Mulligetta did over $1 billion in contracts in the last year and a half. He's one of the most prominent NFL agents. They know who he is. It is such a slap in the face so they don't. Mm-hmm. And yet this over and over again, they try to get away with not negotiating with agents. Again, this goes back to method and madness. What's the method of this? Why is this a way you operate? And it's now starting to erode within their own locker room. You can hear it. Players know it. The players expect it. Now Des Bryant is speaking out about things that went on when that's why the Rock Nation story is out there this morning. It's getting more and more unwound with the Cowboys and feels like it's coming to a head. I know it's about clicks, keeping them top of the headlines, but what's to what outcome?
It's going to bite you at a certain point.
To what outcome?
You keep us young folks around to read through the tea leaves of social media and the pettiness and the passive aggression.
Yeah.
And so when you're seeing teammates changing their profile pictures, one DeMarvion Overshone did it, to a picture of Demo and Micah together, that's a statement. That is a clear alignment with one person. And to use a phrase for our co-host that'll be here at 7 o'clock, let's call it how it is. Jerry is trying to manipulate the players.
Right.
That's why he doesn't want agents present. Micah doesn't, and nobody does. I wouldn't know. Like, he doesn't know all the ins and outs and dead money and guaranteed money and all these things. Like, the players, that's not top of mind. That's what the agent's job is for. Jerry's trying to sucker them into a worse deal, and that's why the agent needs to be there. It's simple. He's trying to manipulate these players into signing deals, and Mike is not having it, and he shouldn't. Zeke wasn't having it. That's why he got sent to Mexico.
Yeah, well, and let's hear from the first-year head coach, Brian Schottenheimer. Listen to it, as you just said.
Poor guy.
He's having to deal with the locker room, and you're right. I mean, the players are uniting around Micah. Look, and here's Brian Schottenheimer.
I've talked to Micah. I've talked to all of our guys, and great conversations. Not going to share with you guys what he and I talked about, but again, I know you guys are going to ask it. I get that. I'm not going to continue to talk about Micah's contract situation. A lot of great things going on. I get it. Seriously, you guys have a tough job to do, and you're going to get bored with this press conference if we keep asking it. But again, had great conversation with him. You know, you guys know me. I'm transparent. I talk to all of our guys. Always have, always will, and good conversations.
All right. So as we said, what did we say way back in February on Game Time, Jack? Either sign him or trade him. Like, do not do this again. But we knew he would. Like, it falls on deaf ears. But if you were going to trade Micah Parsons, you were going to do it before the draft. And we actually had that discussion. And I was team, you know, you could restock your farm with you know, four or five draft picks and a player, and you wouldn't be where you are. But again, I just don't. What is the outcome? What's the method? Why? You know, Jerry and Steven would make it seem like, well, that deal, we had a handshake deal. We had that deal done way at the combine. Just sign the deal, Micah. And it's, you know, just call my agent. He said it very clearly. He said it back in February, March, and he's saying it in his statement now. Just call the agent and get the deal done. I just don't know what the means to the end is here. Yes, you can say to keep it in the headlines, but you know, it's a road in your locker room, which you do all the time. You do it over and over again. I just don't know what it's just a dysfunctional organization, period.
Yeah, and another issue, I'm sure, you know, money will solve all the problems. Money talks at a certain extent. If they throw TJ Watt money +1 at Micah.
But it's not going to get done until he talks to the agent.
Exactly.
So the question is, why would he turn back now after 5 months of not talking to the agent and call the agent? Does that seem logical? Like, okay, great. Now you've talked to him, you get the deal done. Why did it take this long? What's the point of all this?
Yeah, and we hear these like trade requests in the NFL all the time, and half the time they never get done. But some of the language that is being used by Mike and his camp, like phrases like severing the relationship with the team.
Yeah.
This isn't Terry McLaurin who's at training camp cutting it up with the quarterback's parents. Like this seems a little escalated. Who knows if the deal will get done, but like with a first-year head coach, this is absolutely the wrong direction to take. And with Jerry, we know he does this with contracts. He holds out to the last second and then ends up having to pay over market value, but eventually that's going to come back to bite you. Sure. Eventually you're going to offend a player to the point where he absolutely doesn't want to be there, and we might be getting there with Micah. Jerry has disrespected Micah Parsons and David Mulugeta. That's going to come back to bite you at a certain point, and maybe it's here. It didn't with Dak, it didn't with Zeke, it didn't with CD, but here it might.
Yeah, and to what end? To what end? And as you said, DeMarvion Overshown, one of your star young players, they're all watching this, right? It's they're seeing how this operates. It's just so unhealthy and
what's
dysfunctional.
going to happen when it's my turn to get paid?
And again, not to make it about the Philadelphia Eagles, who's in the defending champs in your own division.
How can you not?
Nobody takes care of their players when they outperform their contract more than the Eagles. They get ahead of these things. Jalen Hurts gets his new contract. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. By the way, Devontae Smith was in the same draft as Micah Parsons. He's had a deal for more than a year now. It's just, players know. Players can see it. And I'm sure for Cowboys fans, it's just another level of frustration that is what it is, though. That's the way they operate, which is dysfunctional.